Hey, I'm your host, Anthony Tank Mansfield, and with you today is,
Hannah Wells.
and this is What You Into.
What you into? What you into?
All right, listener, what's up? Back in the basement. Hannah, welcome in for the first time. How you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for reaching out to me about this. Sometimes people throw stuff out at me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I can do with that. You reached out to me. You're like, I'm into racing one wheels and EUCs, and I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely. Let's chat. So,
For sure.
so from the jump, I was like, all right, this seems like something cool. But before we get into that, though, let's hit this real quick. Listener, where to find me at Neil to Know One on Instagram, and from there you can find all my Linktree stuff. Hannah, you can find her on IG, Wheel Float Queen, or you can also follow her personal account, _Hannah_Wells.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So before we get into talking about what you do off the clock, we got to talk on the clock because since you reached out to me, I was like, okay, who's this woman? And so checked out what you were doing with like One Wheels and EUCs, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But then I also found out you have your own like general contracting construction. But how did you get into this? Because
Yes.
I'm a person who I can do some stuff. I can put together IKEA furniture.
Sure.
I can run a hammer. I'm pretty good with the drill. But the idea of like building stuff, putting in drywall, I'm completely I can't wrap my head around it. How did you get into this, and what's it like?
So, it's not like your traditional story that you would think that you'd hear. When I was a little girl and you fill out those, what do you want to be when you grow up? I definitely didn't say remodeling people's bathrooms and replacing their toilets. That wasn't on the list. It was model, actress, singer, whatever. But I actually got into this by chance. And I think it's really cool that that's the background in it because I believe that everything happens for a reason. So, my first job was working for, I should say, not my first job. My first job outside of the food industry was working for a roofing company.
Whoa.
And I did that for a while and I ran their office. I was the ripe age of 18 when I started doing that. So, I did that for like a year, moved from that to property management. Landed a good job in that field, worked there for a year and a half, and then I started working for a contractor out of like Westchester, primarily in Butler County, bigger company, multi-million-dollar corporation, and I was right under the owner.
So in these roles, are you doing hands-on stuff, or are you like doing office
Both.
work? Okay,
Both.
so it's kind of a mix.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I worked for the roofing company, they definitely taught me to not be afraid to get on a ladder, get up on a roof, and identify what hail damage looked like. And then on the other hand, I was getting the administrative side of the experience as well. So getting into this, it was the height of right when COVID had hit the news. So there was like one confirmed case in Washington or something of that sort over there on the West Coast. And I was working for this company. I had a really comfortable job and I was dating a guy and he was really pushing me to go start a company with him of some sort. And we weren't really sure what direction it was going to go into. But I had just purchased my first house when I was 21 in Fairfield, and it was a full gut. So I was kind of forced into that and fixing that entire house from the ground up with minimal experience hands-on. So it was trial and error.
Okay, so when you're trial and erroring this, like, are you going to YouTube University? Like, how are you learning how to gut this thing?
If you want the real answer, I was fucking shit up, like royally. Like I was doing all the things the wrong way in my own house. Now I had some general experience. I mean, I knew the basics when it came to plumbing and electric, and definitely painting and trim and things like that. Those I had some hands-on experience with. But the nitty gritty, finer details of tearing out an entire bathroom to the studs and putting it back, it's just not something I had experienced yet. So anyways, I this guy was really, pushing to start this business, and I thought, okay, well, let's do it. So we both had our full-time jobs, and we kind of sat down and gathered the idea that starting a remodeling company would be really monetarily beneficial for us. And, it was something that we could learn as we go and figure things out. And so I filed for the LLC. I came up with a logo and started marketing the company. I still had my full-time job for months after that. And so did he, actually, for almost a year after that. But eventually, we actually parted ways, and I took over the company full-time. And it's been a hell of a ride ever since. So we're going on 4 years now, and we are one of the highest rated home remodelers in the entire county of Butler.
Oh, nice.
We're very busy.
Well, you were saying you were kind of learning as you go, and like it took stuff on. Like now that you're in year 4 of this, what is something you're doing now where like year 1 you would have never attempted?
Gosh, I think the big thing is that the focus now is not so much on making money as it is building a brand. And it's just fortunate the money's come with it. I think year 1, you're so worried about just making ends meet. Because, I lived off of ramen and barely was able to make my mortgage payment the first 2 years. And so I was just worried about how do I make enough money so that I can meet payroll. And now, year 4, it's like we're focusing on how to build our reputation and build our brand and how to accumulate more work without growing too quickly. And there's a lot more that you're focused on that are long-term goals for the company now. I feel like the first year it was like, you were just worried about next week. How are you going to be able to, sustain that, especially in the height of COVID? Like when I quit my job, that was when everybody got laid off.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very scary time. And I think that had a big impact on it too.
Do you like, what's your favorite aspect of the job? Is it like the actual construction part of it with the hands-on, or is it the creative side, or is it the business side?
Oh gosh, that is such a hard question. I think I find passion in all of them, but more so, I'm a really visual person. Mm-hmm. So I think that's been very beneficial in this industry because one of the biggest struggles that people have when it comes to remodeling their home is they can't visualize it.
Yeah.
I can look at a room and I can tell you what it's going to look like once we tear out 2 walls, So I love the visual aspect of it. But if I'm being honest with you, my favorite part about running this company is getting to be a leader. That is just the best part. And it's such a humbling experience being a leader. It's like you are really put to the test every day in ways that you hadn't been before, if you take it seriously.
Does being in a leadership role, does your age or the fact that you're a woman in a normally male-dominated industry, how does that work? Does it pop up or not?
Yeah, such a good question. Anthony, there have been times where I knocked on a guy's door for a quote and he asked me where my boss was, Yeah. And it's hard at times, but I think that the proof is in the pudding. You look us up now and we've got 5 out of 5 star Google ratings. And if you go to our Facebook page or our Google page, there are hundreds of photos and reels and videos of transformations we've done. And so I think that comes with, the benefit of building that reputation up. But yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes people look at a female owned remodeling company and they wonder, how does this 25-year-old girl know, but like I shared with you before we, tuned into the podcast, I would say in the 25 years of life that I've had, I feel like I've definitely lived a million. So I think that helps a lot, just the life experience that comes with it. And that's more on the business ownership side of things. Being able to run a business and be a leader doesn't come from, my experience in finishing drywall. Mm-hmm. That's not that. It's other experiences that have made that. But yeah, I think that there's disadvantages at times, but if I'm being honest with you, there are a lot of advantages to being a female-owned construction company too, because most of the time it's not the husbands that want to redo their bathrooms. Mm-hmm. It's the wives.
100%. Yes. And every time we deal with an outside contractor, I'm like, talk to her. This is her vision and This is what it's going to be. And, she's who you want to talk to. And so, yeah, I think that what you got there is a good thing because you do have the ability to be like, hey, look, We can talk, we can communicate. I'm not going to try to like do the classic thing that happens when like, oh, women go to buy cars and, you know, oh, they don't know cars and now we're going to use this against you.
Absolutely.
You know, whereas if you find somebody that's like, hey, we're on the same, you know, like I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to be a
Sure.
straight shooter. Boom. That right there
I
is
love that.
instant credibility.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, nothing feels better than when I go to a job and, you know, for every guy that gives me a hard time, there's 10 guys that are so impressed with the knowledge that I do have in this industry because I like to joke around and say I took a crash course to this. The amount of bathrooms that we've remodeled and the number of jobs and scenarios that I have been in the last 4 years, I'd say that, you know, confidently that I've surpassed some guys that have been in the industry for decades. And that's just because we've kind of been balls to the wall since I started this company. And I won't say no to a difficult project or to something I haven't done before. I'm going to try it. I'm going to get good at it. And then I'm going to come into the next situation more knowledgeable. I love being able to go into somebody's home and make them feel comfortable. And I think that's really what sets me apart from a lot of contractors because there's a huge gap in the different types of contractors that exist these days. And there's usually two common ones. You have the old guy who's been in the industry for 40 years.
Yep.
He's good at what he does. Like, I mean, he's really great at mastering or perfecting his craft, but he's probably slow. He's not going to be super professional. He's probably going to scribble down an estimate on a piece of paper and he's going to give it to you. He's going to tell you, listen, I'm not helping you pick grout colors and paint colors and what kind of tile you want. You're going to have to do that on your own. Just let me know when it's here and I'll get it done.
Right.
Might take me 4 months, but I'm going to get it done.
Right.
You have those contractors. And then you have the contractors who show up to your house in a suit and tie and they are selling you on this beautiful vision.
This idea.
Yep. And they've got pamphlets and they've got, you know, everything you need to be able to sell you on it. But they're going to bring in subcontractors that you can't communicate with
Yep. And
because they're not allowed to talk to you.
right. And then on top of that, you're gonna have the thing too, where it's like, are you really using the highest quality stuff, or are you using stuff that like you're
Just so
able
you
to-
can have a higher profit margin.
Right.
Right. So there's like a disconnect there. And that's actually the story behind my whole logo, which is it's a tie and a hammer. And the tie represents the professionalism we bring to this industry and the hammer is the workmanship. So bringing those two together, we're one of the few contractors that will do full design services on every job. You don't know where to start with your bathroom or your kitchen or your basement? Here, let me break it down for you.
What is it like for you on that creative vision end of it? Because I know as like working as an illustrator and designer, when I work with, I get some clients that are like, hey, I like what you do. Here's just whatever, make my thing happen. I need a logo and it's got to involve a dragon. Do you? Versus sometimes I get somebody that's like, the dragon needs to have cross hatching in the head, and well, they don't know that term, but you know, it's like it needs to have diamond scales, not round scales. You know, it's like, hey man,
Sure.
like I need some room to create here. So what's that like on your end of it? Like how do you deal with both those clients?
I would say they're definitely equally involved in what I do. You have half the time you have people who have had their vision decided on for years. They've got everything they need for their kitchen remodel in their basement right now, where they've been shopping for years. And then you have people who say, Hannah, look, I have no design sense. I am no Joanna Gaines. Please just make this pretty. I like modern farmhouse, or I have a more eclectic taste. And then I get to do what I do best, and I get to go in and I get to do that. I love a challenge. I love trying to satisfy people. I love to be challenged by people. When they tell me they're difficult, that's great. That's a perfect opportunity for me to surpass your expectations. I'd say it's more fun for me when people do not have a vision in mind. And they tell me, look, I don't know where to start. That's the best.
I like that too. If you give me a blank slate and like, look, I know you can make something happen here, but I don't know what this thing is. Those people are great to work with because it's like, oh, I'm going to make sure that what's going to happen now is going to be good and it's going to
Yeah.
work and it's going to rock.
Right.
As opposed to somebody who's like, I'm going to put constraints on you and I need this to be this. And it's like, but if we did this, we'd be better. It's like, oh, nope, I have constraints.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when the difference is a lot of people haven't remodeled many parts of their home, you know, dozens of times. It's like most people are on their first bathroom remodel ever, or maybe they did it one other time. And compared to a contractor that's done it hundreds of times, there's so many different things that I've done that were done incorrectly or didn't end up well, and I want to be able to share that knowledge with people. Like, hey, I would steer away from this type of fixture, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I think that is something to be taken into consideration. The fact that this is literally your job. This is your.
That's what I do.
Yeah, this is the thing that puts food on your table.
Yep.
You're gonna have some qualifications, and you're gonna have more knowledge than just the everyday person that's just doing this for the first time.
Absolutely.
And being able to see those things, and that's what experience is: being able to see things before they happen. To
Yep.
be like, that's a bad idea. We're not doing that.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, look, let's get you off the clock. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about tonight. So, you hit me up. You're talking about one wheels and EUCs. Okay, I know what one wheels are. What are EUCs?
EUCs are electric unicycles. So they are essentially exactly what they sound like. They are a one-wheel device that is more, it's a centered wheel that you're going to stand on just like you would a unicycle, opposed to, a one wheel where you're standing like you would on a skateboard. You're going to be standing and facing the same direction that you're riding. Your hips and feet are going to be all aligned. These are electrically powered unicycles, so they have a lot of power, some of which can go up to speeds of 65 miles an hour.
Holy shit.
They're incredible pieces of technology. And I ride them and race them.
So, okay, first thing I got to ask, have you always been kind of a risk taker person? Because to me, this is what you're bringing to the show is one of the hobbies that scares me. Like
Yep.
the idea of doing this, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know. I definitely got some trepidation here with jumping on one of these things.
Yeah.
So have you always been a person that's like, no, fuck it, I'll do it?
Yeah, I think that I love doing things that scare me for sure. Short part of a long story was that a couple of years before I hopped on a one wheel, I was introduced to motorcycles. And about 6 months before the first time I hopped on a one wheel, I was in a pretty bad motorcycle accident. I broke every bone in my right leg.
Oh, shit.
So definitely was a thrill seeker. But after that accident, I really chilled out a lot, and it started to scare me. And it was because of my husband's influence that I dove into this.
What kind of motorcycle were you riding? Was it like a street bike or was it like
It was a
dirt
Honda
bike?
Shadow.
Okay, so you were like on the road. And
I was on the road, yeah.
Okay.
And chasing the same dude that I originally started the company with. So I left with a broken leg and a business, which is okay. But yeah, my current, partner, my husband, my first interaction with a one wheel was while I was on a date with my ex, the other guy, and I saw this guy coasting through a crowd in downtown Cincinnati.
Right.
Just coasting. And he was listening to music, and it was just like this beautiful sight. It was almost like out of a movie. And I went, oh my God, that guy looks like he's really enjoying himself. And my ex goes, oh, that's my buddy Kyle. I think I know him. And calls him over, and he's on this one wheel, and he let me try it. And 6 months later, he was taking me on a date, and we were trying one wheels.
How does one approach getting on a one wheel? Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's kind of a skateboard, but kind of not. There's a big round wheel in the middle. How's this work?
So there's going to be a weight distribution on one side, and it really depends on how you stand on it. Sometimes they call them, you're either going to be. It depends if you're like dominant, left hand dominant or right hand dominant, but really sometimes that doesn't even matter. But there's gonna be a weight distribution where like part of it's gonna be sitting at an angle when it's not on. So you just step one foot on, and then that other foot you're gonna step onto the front foot pad, and you're just gonna lean into it. And once you lean into it far enough, and that wheel has created a like perfectly horizontal line, then it's going to activate.
Oh shit! Okay.
And then it's going to self-balance. So it's self-balancing.
Okay, so it has like a gyro in it that's keeping it centered.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and my husband is like a one-wheel guru in the sense that he actually tears them apart to nothing and rebuilds them.
Whoa.
So even custom one wheels. And that's like there's a whole like rabbit hole with this. We could start talking about Vesks. There's the one wheels themselves were an American, at least the brand One Wheel is an American product that their headquarters are in California.
Okay.
And this product is over the last few years has grown in popularity a lot. So essentially, people have figured out how to jailbreak them and figure out how to take the limits off of their capabilities.
Oh, so people are they like reverse engineering at this point?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So they're creating their own. A one wheel is composed of a battery and a controller box, and people have figured out how to completely customize that controller box and the battery, and I mean there's so many customizations to one wheels, whether it comes to exterior customizations or customizations just when it comes to the software that they're made up of. So
Damn.
yeah, it's something that most people, if you're into it, you're like into it, you're obsessed with it, borderline. And that's where my husband is with it. We have a whole room in our house dedicated to them, and we've got like 31 wheels and multiple EUCs.
Ooh, so okay, so this kind of becomes one of those things on the show where it's like, okay, we started out talking hobby, but it sounds like we're almost like we're getting into fandom / lifestyle land.
Oh, definitely lifestyle.
Okay.
Especially, I would, like I said, most people who ride one wheels, it's a passion of theirs. I would say it is one of my many passions. I'm probably not to the level that my husband is, but I mean, more so than most people. We ride as often as we can. We take trips because we live in Ohio, so it's a cold climate. I mean, for at least 7 months out of the year, you can't really go on mountain bike trails.
Right.
Because let me clarify, we're not riding these on the street. We're riding these on mountain bike trails.
Are they currently? Wait, so they're legal on like? Can you ride one wheels on city streets and stuff?
I prefer not to comment.
Okay.
On that. No, no, I'm just kidding. They are EUCs. Like I think that there's a line there. The
Yeah.
EUCs are more close to street legal
'Cause I
because
was
they have
re-
headlights and taillights that are pretty bright.
Yeah, I was
and-
reading that online and talking about like the possible future of EUCs and
Yeah.
and how like this could be something that becomes almost like akin to a motorcycle or something.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of transportation, because you hit upon it earlier with like these things are currently going up 60 miles per hour. I was reading online where there was one that's now hitting 85, 90.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, oh wow, like these are just little motorcycles.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And I think that PEVs or personal electric vehicles are the future. You know,
Yeah.
people, you don't have to pay for insurance. You're not paying for gas. It costs the equivalent of like $1 to charge an EUC, and you're going to get 100+ miles of range out of it.
And it makes sense too, because then it's like if you need this as just like, why drive a car when you can just drive one of these for your commutes? Because like, you know, on my where I'm at, like I drive a Honda CRV. It's like, but most
Same
of
here, by the way. I saw your car out in the driveway, and I've got one too. Yeah, 2023 hybrid.
Hell yeah,
Love it.
Oh, yeah, it's great and it's awesome. But the thing at the same time, it's like, do I really need to drive this thing that can hold up to like 5 people and a bunch of stuff
Sure.
on my usual just running errands?
Sure.
Where it's like, hey, I need to go here, I need to grab this.
Yep.
Where I could take one of these in a backpack.
Yep.
And it's way more functional and way less of an impact on the environment.
Absolutely. And that's a big argument that we make. We are, a lot of the one wheel community in the EUC community are very involved in their local like mountain bike associations because we want to spread awareness for these awesome pieces of technology that we now have access to as a society. And they kind of got a bad rap at first because, you know, people see them, see people riding them on the streets and they go, oh my gosh, those are dangerous. And then we get out on the mountain bike trails and the mountain bikers are like, get off our trails. And we
You have no place to go. You're
yeah, right.
like the only place this can go is the Island Misfit Toys because
Right.
nobody wants us.
Right, absolutely. So we have put a lot of effort into, you know, trying to steer away from that stigma that was created, you know, outside of our control. And so, like, my husband volunteers for all the mountain bike, like, trail maintenance days and the local mountain bike association here in Cincinnati. They know him and they know of him because they see him riding and they're like, is that a real person? Because when we ride, I mean, we've got like full-faced helmets on, body armor, you know, motorcycle boots, things like that. So you're fully protected. And when you're riding, you look like a Power Ranger. Legitimately. I mean, he's a character. People know who we are in our city just because we ride him.
just, I'm just thinking about how cool the Power Rangers would be if they had EUCs, which
It'd be way cooler than they are.
Yeah, it'd be really add to it. I think we've hit upon it within the name, and we've talked about it a bit. But like, what is it like having something that is battery electric powered versus something as gas powered? Like, do you notice any difference in it, or what's the impact?
Well, I mean, I've never had like a gas powered, like I guess a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Would be the equivalent of that. But sorry, I had to cough again.
that's okay.
Drywall dust. Wear your masks. You're gonna end up being a victim of one of those commercials where it's like, do you or someone you love have you guys ever been diagnosed with mesothelioma?
Do you have dry lung?
Yeah, black lung. I think that anything battery powered is going to be far less harmful to the environment. So that's a huge benefit to it. There's not as much of an odor, not as much maintenance, I think that, like I said before, it's the future.
Yeah.
People are going to lean towards it.
I think it's an interesting time right now, like going through this thing where, we did have in the past with like some equipment around the house, like hedge trimmers or with lawn mowers, you could like plug them in and kind of charge it, but it didn't really work for a while. Now we're finding to a point where like batteries are a functional thing that are on par and sometimes better than gas powered stuff. And we are starting to like go through this change in terms of our vehicles and the way things are powered and the way our tools are powered right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's an interesting changeover to see. And yeah, I feel like most people don't have an issue with it. I feel like the only real area I've heard people arguing about it is in like the car market, like people that are into like classic cars or people that want to have like the traditional motor and the engine they grew up on. But at the same time, I feel like there is definitely space for the new battery operated stuff to come in.
Absolutely. And I mean, the important part is those people are going to die off anyways. So, I mean, with the people who are like, well, back in my day, we only had gas powered cars, that's not going to be a problem anymore, because a lot of people, especially the newer generations, are going to be accustomed to using things that are powered by electricity.
100%. And yeah, and it just kind of fits with like the way things are going now in terms of electronics and stuff and everything else. I like the idea too with like batteries of I was watching which let me say this first of all. The Cybertruck is the ugliest fucking thing I've seen
terrible.
in decades. Holy shit, Elon. Buddy, what are you doing?
Yeah, not a good look.
It's so it's so crazy looking. It looks like somebody gave an 8-year-old. They were like, make a truck, and they were like, I want it pointy.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like, all right,
it's very futuristic.
Yeah,
I think the looks are part of it too. I think that was part of his marketing thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially so I ended up watching like this whole YouTube video where it's like some guy got the truck and he did like a 45-minute video and he did all the ins and outs of it, and some of the stuff on it was crazy, like the front end and how sharp it is. Like if you hit somebody with one of those things, you're definitely gonna like stab them.
Where's the logic in that?
Which is not good. But on the flip side, the cool thing with it is like the way the bed is set up with a cover that you hit a button and it rolls in and out, and then also like you can fill it with ice and it has like a drainage port and all that. But the real cool thing that I took away from it was it has a hookup for other electronic vehicles to charge off of the Cybertruck. So if you have a Cybertruck and you charge it up and you take it out that day and you are working with something like an EUC, you can then like roam around, do your thing, come back, hook your EUC into the bed of the Cybertruck, and then you can charge it, and then you can go ride more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do have the capability to charge our electric vehicles within our vehicles even now, because we've got like what we call a juice box, which is like a battery box that we take with us, and we can charge them all on that, which is awesome. It's beautiful, but that is really cool that they have that feature.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of a cool idea of like in the future that we'd be able to do that, where you can charge vehicles and tools off of each other like that. It's almost like an even better version of like giving somebody a jump.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, oh,
well, it's like where you can like put your phones together now.
Yeah.
And you can take charge from somebody else's phone.
Right.
That is insane.
Right. And it makes so much sense for like emergency situations. Like, think of any times you've seen somebody like broke down on the side of the road because they ran out of gas, and like you're seeing some poor guy walking like 2 miles to find an off ramp to go to a BP.
Right.
Whereas in the future, actually technically now, you could just roll up and be like, hey, put a
Here
car
to get a little charge
yeah,
from me. And
yeah,
then,
yeah. Here's 5 miles, you know, and then they could just
Right.
go right down the ramp and boom, they're good.
yeah, that is incredible. Technology impresses me every single day.
100%. Yeah. I wonder what will be like the last thing that doesn't convert over to battery will be. I'm going to guess hot air balloons. I don't know if you can do a hot air balloon with a battery.
I mean, I'm sure you could. You just have to. I mean, hot air. I mean, you'd have to be able to generate hot air from a battery and then pump it into the top of the balloon. I mean, like a heater. That's electric, right?
I think we're talking about maybe like a small like nuclear reactor we could put into the hot air balloon.
Right. Just to generate hot air in the balloon.
It's fine. You're floating around with an atom bomb. It's totally
It's not
cool.
a big deal. It's just the newest
This is the
part of the
future.
American military budget.
Yeah, this is what they're putting their money into right now.
Absolutely.
It's like, look, we have lasers, we have
Jetpacks.
we have robots, jetpacks, and now we have nuclear
hot air
reactor
balloon.
hot air balloons. 100%. This is the way.
That's the future. That'll probably be one of the last things for sure.
So you started out with did you start out one wheel and then go to EUC?
Correct. Yeah. So
So what was it like making the jump?
that was hard. I will say that one wheels for me, I feel like I can speak for a lot of people in terms that there's usually a bigger learning curve up front with EUCs. So learning how to ride an EUC is a lot like learning how to ride a bike. You're going to fall a lot at first, and getting off, like when you get onto a bike and like you have to push off and find that balance where you start pedaling and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm balanced. You have to move to stay balanced. You can't just stay in place. And I think that was the hardest part about learning how to ride an EUC is that you kind of have to just like jump into it and force yourself to. So I spent like 4 hours in a field in Florida about a year ago, not quite a year ago, trying to teach myself how to ride an EUC. And I eventually got it, but there's definitely a bigger learning curve there. One wheel for me, I kind of had the opposite reaction that most people do. I felt like learning EUC was easier for me than riding a one wheel. And for me, it's because I like to be facing forward. Mm-hmm. I don't like the positioning of a one wheel where like it's like my hips are facing one way and then my body has to face forward.
Yeah, it's like a skateboard. We're like
Or a snowboard.
Yeah, we're like your hips are at a 90-degree angle and your head's straight on.
Yeah, I didn't like that as much. It didn't feel as natural to me as riding an EUC. But I mean, I'd say once I started riding EUC, I was more addicted to it more quickly than I was with one wheel. And there's like a whole there's like a whole community kind of, I don't want to say like, it's not like a conflict. It's more of just like people who ride EUC and people who ride one wheels kind of take hits at each other sometimes in a joking, like lovingly way. But
of course, there's always the other
rivalry. It's like a rivalry. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's skateboarders and rollerbladers.
Exactly.
It's that whole thing where it's just
people who ride EUCs are like, oh, they tell one wheelers whenever they like complain about their power, it's like, oh, well, you should come on to the dark side and ride an EUC. It's way better. There's way more you can do on them.
Right.
And then there are people who, ride EUCs and they get really hurt, and then people are like, this is why I stick to one wheels.
Yes, this is very snowboarders and skiers. This is very console gamers versus computer gamers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That rivalry definitely exists in those communities. But both are definitely fun in different ways. Mm-hmm. I would say when it comes to like riding trails, I would say an EUC is more enjoyable for me than a one wheel. When it's like riding socially with your friends, riding a one wheel is more where I feel like that's more fun.
Is the EUC like more? Can you just do more on it?
It's just got more power and more capability. So the biggest thing is like EUCs. You have suspension with an EUC, so you can go down a rocky mountain bike, trail, and you're not going to feel as beaten up when you're done with it as you would with a one wheel.
Okay, so so one wheels are like wooden roller coasters, and then EUCs are like steel roller coasters. Where
I'm gonna
there's
get so much shit for this, but yeah, I mean they like I said, I think that they're both fun in different ways, and that people, it really depends where your strengths are. Like people
Yeah.
who snowboarded for a really long time end up picking up on one wheels a lot faster, and they are, they excel in the sport. A lot of people who ride one wheels were snowboarders at one point in time.
ooh, I like that you hit it with sport. So so are one wheels and EUCs, are they a sport or are they a lifestyle?
They're definitely a sport.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And if you don't believe that, anybody that's listening, I want you guys to look up Race for the Rail, which is the one wheel championship race. One wheel actually now has a pro team as well, made up of some amazing riders and racers. It's definitely a sport, kind of like how motocrosses. I mean, people travel all over the country and pay lots of money to be able to put themselves on dangerous pieces of equipment and race them. I would definitely call that a sport. When you're like willing to get hurt at the entertainment of other people, I think that that's definitely like a sport. Very competitive. There are people who dedicate their lives to this. Now officially as of this year, there are people who are getting paid to competitively ride one wheels, which is incredible. That's how much the sport has grown in the last few years. 3 years ago, if you asked somebody if they'd ever seen a one wheel, they were like, no, I have no idea what that is. And it was even really cool to be a part of the community then. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not cool now, but I mean, now you tell people you ride a one wheel and they're like, oh, I think I've seen those before.
My cousin got one of those.
Yeah, or the kid in my neighborhood rides one of those. There was a point in time where we rode them downtown and people would go, like, they'd stop in their cars.
The fuck is that?
Oh my God, what is that?
The future is happening now.
Yes, yeah. So you don't get as many of those reactions, but they do still exist.
I'm interested in the whole idea of, is it a sport or is it a lifestyle? Or an art? Because I remember when I did the episode about skateboarding, I interviewed two skateboarders and they were both like adamantly like, it's an art, it's not a sport. And I'm like, okay, because they were both coming from like, the one guy was like coming from like skateboarding in the 90s up until now. And he was like, it was just always like a self-expression thing. It is for me now. I don't compete against anybody. It's what I do. And the guy who got into it was kind of in that same vibe where he's like, man, I'm just chilling with my buddies. But I was like, but the X Games do exist. Like,
yeah.
What's
the definition of a sport?
That's the other question. This is also where we get into the thing. Cause then it becomes, well, what is the definition of a sport? Like, because if you make something competitive, it becomes, you can make it a sport, whether it's you kick the ball into the goal or you run faster than the other person.
Sure.
You can turn the most simple things into a sport. Hell, even going back to like in study hall, kicking the paper football through the goalpost with the fingers.
Yeah.
It's a sport.
No, absolutely. And there are a lot of people who have just insane athletic ability when it comes to riding one wheels. Mm-hmm. I do race one wheels. I have yet to enter an EUC race, but I also did just jump on that train and didn't really start riding trails or really riding an EUC until this past fall.
Okay.
So I'm kind of late on the train there, but this upcoming year, I'm definitely going to enter into some EUC races. But one wheel racing, on the other hand, is just, I've experienced it firsthand, and it is one of the most badass sports that I think exist.
So how's the setup for the sport work? Like, is there a certain number of racers per heat? And then what do the courses look like? Are they akin to like a dirt bike course or is it like a gravel or blacktop? Like, what are we dealing with?
All kinds. So there's street races, there's trail races, off-road races. There are trick comps. There are a lot of different avenues you can take when it comes to one wheels and kind of where you are going to shine. I would say primarily most one-wheel racing takes place on dirt or rocky terrain because there's the most challenge there.
Okay.
At some point when you're riding straight on blacktop with a one wheel, it's like you can only max out so fast on a one wheel. I mean, between 20 and 25 miles per hour for the most part.
Which is still a good clip.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go faster than that. I mean, some of the fastest and most talented racers are easily hitting 30 miles per hour on a one wheel. They're pushing them to their limits, and they're doing it on mountain bike trails.
Wow.
So, and I think that that's why it's predominantly those races are based on dirt trails with a lot of obstacles, because that really shows you where their technical capabilities are gonna shine the most. So I see predominantly races taking place in the woods, and you've got like a drone following you while you're racing, and these do take place with heats. So usually you are with racing either head 1-to-1 with another person, or there's a heat of 4 people.
Okay.
And it's like the last person standing, the person that gets all the way to the end and hasn't, fallen off too many times.
How do you pass in this situation? Like, how tight is that?
So rubbing is racing.
Hell yeah.
That's like a term that we use a lot. So you can definitely like make contact with somebody, and if they come off, they come off. I mean, you aren't allowed to intentionally push people off their boards.
Right.
If you collide with somebody, that's unfortunate. Nobody wants to collide with anyone, because that means they are going to fall too, and they're not going to win. So people get really close. Passing is one of the most exhilarating parts of a race, is trying to get past somebody. Sometimes there are far faster racers that have fallen, and then they get stuck behind someone and they just can't get past them. I mean, I've seen a lot of, people who really got lucky in races, because the person who was faster and more talented ended up falling, and then they can't get past this person because they're so good at, having an unpredictable line. So it is so fun not only to race, but to also watch the races take place. So I highly encourage anybody listening to check out Race for the Rail, check out ORL, the One Wheel Racing League, check out the Underground Racing League. There are races all over YouTube. So if you just look up One Wheel Racing on YouTube, you will be entertained for hours.
What is there like a kind of a standard sized track in terms of length? Like, is there something where it's like 800 meters or 1600 meters, kind of an average, or
it's usually a couple of miles.
Okay, a couple miles.
Yeah. So it really just depends on how technical the trails are. Mm-hmm. I would say the more technical they are, usually they're a little bit shorter, depending on how technical. But it really depends on where you're racing too. So there are races all over the country. There are some that happen annually that are pretty big. We've got Dirt Surfers, Seek and Shred. You've got Oak City Shred Fest and Windmen. And these are all like in North Carolina, California, Florida, Arkansas. Arkansas is like the one wheel mecca. A lot of people think.
Wait, what?
So believe it or not, yeah, Arkansas has some of the best trails. Bentonville, Arkansas, Eureka Springs. They're like mountain bike towns where everybody is riding mountain bikes. So the towns have been created to accommodate
it's
those.
already there.
It's already there. And so a lot of the big one wheel events are hosted in Arkansas. One of the biggest of the year, Float Life Fest, was in Arkansas the last few years. And the city was like of Bentonville, which is actually, backstory, is owned by the Waltons, who founded Walmart.
Oh, shit.
So it's the Walmart town. And we brought like 700 one-wheel riders to that city the last few years. And last year, they were like, you cannot come back. Not this year, but like the year before that, they were like, please do not bring these one-wheelers back. Because the reason for it was actually, there were just complaints because a lot of people we're just riding in the streets, and like it's kind of like a festival, so people are drinking, they're having fun. And
I was gonna say, it totally sounds like a music festival. Is this like a 3-day event kind of thing?
Always, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a multi-day event, and I mean, people come, they camp. I mean, it's definitely a thing that people have dedicated.
It's party time.
It's party time. It's time to have fun.
It's party time, sport time.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are definitely two different types of people who ride one wheels. So there are people who do it, and it's like they're there for the community, and they go there to like have fun and see people. And it is truly incredible because, I mean, I have friends all over the country I mean, in almost any state, I could open my phone right now and message them and go, hey, I'm coming through your state. Can I crash with you? And they're like, yeah, and let's ride One Wheels. So it is really incredible to be able to go to these events and see these people that you haven't seen in months. And so that's a huge part of it. But then there's other people who are like diehard racers. Like my husband's straight edge, so he doesn't partake in any recreational activities. And he is like, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock the night before race day. I'm eating a good protein-filled dinner, and then I'm getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hitting the trails.
I'm going to work.
Yeah, and I'm like up until like 1 o'clock in the morning with all the Drift Sisters, the girl, which is it's like our female, it's a nonprofit organization of women that ride PEVs. And like, we're just so excited to see each other, and we're up all night with each other hanging out, and we're the ones that wake up begrudgingly at 8 o'clock, like last minute to check in for racer check-in. Not all the girls are like that though. There are some who are truly, truly dedicated to the race scene, and they're just incredible.
Everything you're saying is very reminiscent to me from like being involved in roller derby, where like tournaments are exactly the same way. It's a 3-day event, Friday through Sunday. And me being an announcer, it didn't matter if I was hungover or not to do my job. So yes, it was like, oh my God, I get to see my friends from all over the nation. We get to chill out. We get to hang out in some city. We get to go to bars. It's fun. Yeah. And just, get out of life for like 72 hours. I can push pause on everything in my real world, and I can go on an adventure.
Absolutely. So it's hard for me, at least, it's hard for me to focus just on the racing aspect of it, because I do love people so much and I love the people in this community. Like, I will say there have been maybe, I could count on one hand the number of bad seeds that I've ever come in contact with that are in this industry. It's truly incredible, the quality of people that exist in this sport and the love that's there. Everybody is so encouraging. They want to see you succeed, and it just makes it so much more fun because everybody's cheering each other on. They're having a good time, and there's nowhere else I could rather be except there at those events. And getting to take part in those memories, especially while it's still small like it is. So right now it's still a niche, not as small as it used to be, but it's still a niche.
Okay. Again, this is also very parallel to like when I got involved in road derby. We're like, yes, you do know everybody, and like everybody's friends at this point because it has not become something that's so huge. Like there is something cool about being involved with a scene where it's like there's only less than 1,000 of us in the the world, or in the United States at least. That are so it's easier to find people and talk and meet up and all that and like form bonds. Whereas when like a fandom or a hobby or whatever becomes so big where there's like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people into it, it's like, dude, I get lost in it. Like how do you meet the people? How do you find your friends? Whereas when it's smaller, it's a way easier thing to like make connections and also find people that are really into that shit.
Oh yeah. And I think what's cool too is the One Wheel community is just full of a bunch of weird people. Like we are all weird. We all are unique in our own way. And I think that that's what really drives this sense of community that we have, because everybody feels welcome. We all have something in common.
Right.
And it's this love for these amazing, like I said, pieces of technology, because that's what they are.
That's the touch point.
And we all just get to do it, and we forget about everything that's happening in our world. Like we all come from all different corners of the country and different lifestyles and different, backgrounds, and we all come together, and then we just ride One Wheels.
Right.
And it's so awesome. I mean, I've never been a part of a group like that. So that was probably one of the reasons why I did fall in love with this so much, is because I had never really felt a sense of belonging like I do in this community. Yeah,
the sense of belonging, and also that thing that knocks down the barriers of like race or sex or age
religion,
or whatever. It doesn't matter. No. You're into this thing. I'm into this thing. We're now friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you have like this like core touchstone, and then from there you can like have some other shit that you're into, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm into that too. But that's the main thing that opens that door. Is at the very least, at the end of the day, we have this baseline where we're both into this thing, and we're really into this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, the One Wheel community is so welcoming. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you show up to a One Wheel event and you barely know how to ride a One Wheel, you're going to make so many friends in the first 10 minutes that you're there. And everybody wants to see other people get on a One Wheel and love it. So hey, you want to ride my one wheel? You want to take it around the block for 5 hours? That's totally fine with me, because we want to see more people get involved in this sport. It's truly incredible. And I think it's a great way to get exercise, but I think it's also a great way to meet new friends and to get out and to get outside. And that was a huge thing during COVID. My
Right.
husband got into one wheels during COVID. So like that was his social interaction,
Right.
was getting out of the house and hopping on a one wheel and going and riding, which was also a really beautiful thing. There's a lot of really touching stories about how one wheel has changed people's lives. I mean, there are vets that, were paralyzed and had little feeling in their legs and now they ride one wheels. There are people who, were incredibly depressed and felt like they didn't have a purpose in life until they found one wheels. And my husband in particular, he not only has it become a passion of his, but it's also become a business venture. He rides, repairs, customizes, and sells one wheels and EUCs. I mean, he's learned how to take them apart down to nothing and put them back together, and there's some monetary value in that. So it's been cool.
Let's move away real quick from everybody. Let's focus on you for a second. How do you prep for races? Like, are you nervous? Are you excited? Do you have to listen to like certain soundtracks and music to get pumped up? Are you a person that
Yeah.
cleans everything before they go out? Like, how do you approach race day?
Okay, so I am very competitive at heart. So, which means that when race day comes, I am very nervous because I want to win.
Right.
That's in the back of my head. That's like the first thing that matters is like, you got to go out and win. So there's been a huge shift over the last year for me and learning to just go out and have fun and not be so focused on trying to win. And it's been a huge relief because now I can get out there and have fun. Now on race day, I am usually I'm going to eat like a good breakfast and then I'm just going to like go with the flow and try not to make a big deal about it because if I do, I get in my head too much. So, I don't have any like special traditions that I do
Okay.
right before I go out and race. I'm like kind of a spur of the moment person. Like I'm just going to hang out with my friends and as soon as they're like, okay, it's time to race, I'm going to go and I'm going to just race and
Just
do it. I got to like get out there and do it. And it's been kind of an interesting learning curve for me because I had never competed in sports. I didn't even play sports growing up. Like I didn't. I was a bookworm and I loved theater and I loved writing and reading. And when I got into this, it was like, holy shit, I have to like use my body and my brain and compete against other people with my adrenaline, like just
Jacked.
insane.
Yeah.
And like I had never experienced that before. And now I get on the board and like when you're out there and you're on the trail, there is nothing else that matters. You just get out there and it's like you flip a switch and it's like you are just focused on being on the board. For me, I am still like compared to a lot of people, I am still very much a beginner when it comes to the racing world. I've only taken part in like 5 races. They're all over the country, so it's a lot of planning to be able to get there and to be able to like take off work and afford the trip. So I have only participated in a handful. My husband has participated in quite a few. He's actually been to Race for the Rail. Now I've done well, when I have raced and given how little I have raced. I like to compete in the underground circuit, which is like you have the One Wheel Racing League, which is like the branded, technical team, sports team. And you have the underground, which is exactly what it sounds like. And it's a bunch of people who are like, we don't want to follow the rules. We're going to do it our way.
It's like pickup basketball. It's like, look, we're going to do this thing,
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah. So, and we, race on we race on a lot of different trails and we don't have as many restrictions when you race. So it's kind of like open, for anybody and however you want to ride, whatever customizations you want to have. And I really shined there. And last year I went to the underground championship. I qualified. There were, I think, like 20 girls that qualified and I ended up leaving with second place.
Nice.
So yeah, threw ourselves down Spider Mountain, just outside of Austin, Texas. And that was an incredible experience. It was my first time ever really racing and like It wasn't, I wouldn't say an endurance race, but I mean, there were like 7 trails that we had to do throughout
Wow.
the day. And we had like, you have as many chances as you want to be able to get your best time, and your best combined time is what places you. And I was racing against some of the best racers in the country, which was extremely intimidating because they're all so good at what they do.
I definitely want to put a pin in the endurance side of this, but I do want to go back to something you mentioned earlier where you were talking about just like when you're in the moment and that's all there is. Like I refer to that, like when I think of that stuff, I think of it as like lizard brain, where like when I'm caught up in a sport, the only thing I'm thinking about is what's happening in sport. Like I'm not thinking about anything else in my life. I'm not thinking about things on the internet. I'm not thinking about arguments I'm having in my life with people. Like it's just, I need to go left. I need to go right. Like it's just, and
which is oddly very nice for
feels
somebody
so
that has
good.
so much
It feels so
responsibility in
good.
life.
It's so nice. But you can stop thinking when you can just stop thinking.
It's very
and
meditative.
it is. It's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why a lot of people love to do it.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of doing jiu-jitsu. It was just like no matter what, I don't have to think about anything for an hour. All I got to think about is like, don't get choked. Don't let this guy get your arm. And it's just like it's so freeing just to push pause on the real world. Just even if for 30 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
It just feels so good to get out of your head.
Absolutely. And I think that has been a driving force in my love for One Wheel as well, is just being able to get away from the daily grind that I am involved in and owning a construction company and being an entrepreneur at a young age. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. So being able to, take 5 days off and go and travel to a new place in the country that I've never been and ride with a bunch of people that I love and race has been awesome. The last year or so, I was really hesitant on diving into the race scene. And I think I had a little bit of like PTSD from the motorcycle accident that I was really scared I was going to get hurt. My first race that I entered into, I broke my tailbone.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I didn't even get to race. So
you're sitting on a donut for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. So, well, for months after that, I mean, the pain still, like if I sit for a long time, I could still feel it. When I get up after we're done here, I'm going to go, ugh, a little bit,
Tailbone injuries are no joke. I remember my buddy Andy Christie, when we were in like junior high, he had a charge in a basketball game and he was fucked up for like 3 months where like he just could not sit in chairs. Like, because it's not one of those things you put a cast on it.
No,
it's
you
just
can't
like,
do that with a broken tailbone.
Yeah, it's just like, well, getting on and off toilets is going to suck. And here, like, try to find the best cushion you can.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was hard, and I was very discouraged after that. But, of course, the One Wheel community is so incredible, and people are so encouraging that it wasn't long before I jumped back on a One Wheel.
Nice.
And I think I have, and owning a company has played a big part in it because as the owner of the company, you have more responsibility and there's more expected from you. So I didn't ever want to be the person that was like, okay, I'm going to go on 12 vacations a year, especially right in the beginning of, establishing a business. And so I always felt guilty taking off time and going to go to those races. Fortunately, we're at a point now with my company where it is a lot more self-sufficient. And so I'm so looking forward to this upcoming year in the 2024 race season because I know that I'll be able to dive right into it. It's also super beneficial for me because my best friend is a pro one-wheel racer. She's a female rider and she lives in Dayton.
Nice.
So, and she is one of the just best teachers ever. She has pushed me to do things that I was scared of so many times that I would have never even tried until I started hanging out with her. And so we're going to be training each other all spring, getting ready for race season and riding one wheels together. And I think it's going to be a really good year.
So, okay, wait, how does race season work? Is it set up to like akin to like maybe like how the Bengals have a football schedule where it's like, at the beginning of the year, like what the regular season is? Is there a playoffs? Is it you have to go to a series of like big events? How does this work?
So that's exactly how it is. And so the one wheel racing season starts in like March and April is when, the one wheel season in general, people start riding around that time. Dirt Surfers, which is one of the first events of the year, is usually racing events, I should say, because there are also one wheel events that are not racing. There are like Stokebird in Miami is every February. And that's just a bunch of people. It's more like a huge party. People go down and ride and just party in Miami.
Okay, let me ask this with One Wheels. Is it akin to skateboarding or snowboarding where like tricks are part of the equation? Like is there any kind of thing?
It's like a
on
separate.
That? Okay.
It's like those. So trick comps happen at these events.
That's what I was getting at. So
Yes.
okay, so there's racing and there's trick comps.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
okay, so it's akin to like vert versus street where there's two different things going
Absolutely,
on. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So one of the big first races is Dirt Service. That takes place in May. And then you've got Seek and Shred, which is in California, and there are events on the East Coast as well. You've got Oak City Shred Fest, and there are, if I had to count, I think there are like 7 ORL events.
Okay.
So the One Wheel Racing League, and I might be off with that number, so nobody, hold me to that, but these events, they're essential to go to because they work on a point system. So when you go to the event, and if you do race in the pro division, you accumulate points based on what your placement was. And then at the end of the year, the top 12 riders, 16 riders, it's changed, will go to the championship, which is called Race for the Rail.
Nice.
So, and that's in a different location every year. But it's essential to go to these events. If you don't go to them, it's not impossible to go to Race for the
Right,
Rail,
but you're
because-
losing points because you weren't in there to get the points.
Yes. Now, if you get first place, some of the races are like prime events, and if you go to them and you get first place, you get a ticket to Race for the Rail.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So, one of my absolute favorite female racers of all time, she has been like a mentor to me, is the 2-time One Wheel Racing League first place female racer, her name's Rachel Cecil. If you look her up on Instagram, it's Diesel Cecil. She is just a powerhouse, and so incredibly kind. Like, she's just one of the sweetest people I've ever met. But long story short, she got it last year. She didn't race the whole season. So she won in 2022. She won Race for the Rail. And it was her first time winning Race for the Rail. The 2023 season comes. She doesn't really race almost at any of them. She goes to what race was it? I think it was Oak City. And she goes and she just gets first place. And just takes first place
the
and
box,
gets
just
her
like, oh.
ticket. The year before that, she got first place at Wheel Scorcher, got her ticket to Race for the Rail, and she was good to go. And then she showed up and she won first place again after not taking part in the rest of the racing season.
What separates this woman from other racers? Like, why is she so dominant?
Because she's honestly, what it comes down to is the fact that Rachel has it figured out in her head that she's going to win, and she's confident in that, and not in a egotistical way, not in like she flaunts her skills or anything like that. It's just that she meditates before every race, and she's already got it in her head that, I'm capable of this, and I'm going to win. And it's really, I think it comes down to the power of manifestation, and the law of attraction. And Rachel has demonstrated that in her life. And also I think it's karma, because Rachel is just such a kind person, and she has been such a mentor in this community to so many women, and she plays a huge role, and is one of the founders of Drift Sisters, which is the nonprofit that I told you about. I am a part of that nonprofit as well, so I'm the Ohio ambassador for that. Yeah, and we raise money, and we try to encourage other women to get out there and to try these things, and encouraging them along the way. So she's a big part of that, but she's just a total badass, really. I mean, she's the first person ever to win Race for the Rail twice. Now, there is a gentleman, his name's Tyler James. He also won 2 times this year after she did. The women went first, but
Okay.
So yeah, these races take place all over the country, and you earn points, and then you can earn a shot to Race for the Rail.
Nice.
So, and then there's the underground circuit, which is separate. So you race all over the country, and you also accumulate points. And then if you are in the top performing of however many people they make it, then you get to go to the championship race.
Okay. All right. I'm catching on what's going here. Okay.
Yeah.
It's controlled chaos. There is
Correct.
yeah. there's definitely a bit of reason here. So yeah, okay, this is very cool. I like how they've figured out how to structure and turn this into a sport and make it make sense.
And it's always changing. I mean, it's still pretty new. So every year there are changes.
100%. Yeah, keep evolving it with the time. Because and that's just something that happens in the new sport is like, if you look at like the rule book for sports that are older, it's very thick, and it's like, well, why? Well, because shit happened, and then it was like, we need to make a rule about that so that shit doesn't happen in the future.
Yep. That's definitely occurred in the one wheel sport. There's been a lot of changes that have been made over the years because people they've changed how they ride. I think that's a big thing. People rode one wheels 4 years ago, but they weren't riding them at nearly the capacity that they are now. We're pushing the limits of these devices to the point where there's no choice but to modify them because people aren't satisfied with how fast they go or how much range that they have or how much power that they have. They want more and more and more.
Yeah, I think seeing like a sport evolve in real time is interesting. Like I'm a big MMA fan, so to see like something happen where it's like 30 years ago it was like, well, we're just gonna throw these guys in a cage and let them go out to where like now it's evolved into this thing where it's like, no, there's weight classes, no, there's rounds.
Yeah.
No, there's a structure to this where like we know that if you're going to come in and do this, you need to have some semblance of a stand-up game, whether it be boxing or kickboxing.
Yep.
You need to understand jiu-jitsu. You need to understand a basic understanding of grappling and American wrestling.
Yep.
So yeah.
That applies to one wheels. There are weight classes now with one wheels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
So you obviously are split into like there's male and female categories.
Are you kind of treated like jockeys in a way where it's like you got to weigh certain amounts to be in certain stuff? Like, how does that work?
Well, yeah, so you have your Clydesdale classes, which I think they're 205 pounds and up is what categorizes you as a Clydesdale.
Got it. I'm a Clydesdale. Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah. My husband's like right on the borderline. He's like a little too light. And I'm like, just gain 10 pounds. You'll beat all those guys. And then you have your, regular standard weight class. And there's also like pro and amateur divisions. So yeah, it's definitely split up. The women have kind of been tossing around the idea of having weight classes because for women, there aren't currently weight classes, but your weight has a huge impact on.
Does your height impact how
I'm
you're
5'9". Yeah, I'm 140 pounds, 5'9", and I mean there are definitely some girls that are 100 pounds soaking wet, and it does impact it. I'm not gonna say it makes it like it's like a crippling disability or anything like that when it comes to me racing against somebody who's lighter, because it really just depends on how you're racing. If we're going downhill, I'm gonna beat them.
Right.
But if there's a lot of uphill, I'm going to lose.
You got a problem.
Yeah.
And this does become one of those interesting things where normally in sports, it's like, well, the bigger athletes, the better athletes. Like, that's not always the case.
No, that's not.
And especially in a racing sport where weight matters.
Well, Rachel is a prime example of how that's not the case, because Rachel and she is shorter than me, but she's stockier. She's got a lot more muscle mass than I do. So she and I weigh the same amount, and she kicks ass, so I wouldn't say that it's all weight, but that definitely plays a part. I mean, if I'm in a race, if it came down to it, if I'm in a race and it's all uphill,
right,
I'm gonna have a major disadvantage.
For sure.
But that's why usually when they pick the courses, they try to have them like equally yoked, so there's like a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Which is beneficial.
I'm starting to pick up on how this is working here.
Yeah.
And definitely weight classes would seem to be a thing that would make sense in this.
For sure.
At the very least, just to kind of break things up just a little bit, because if the men are doing, I could also see. I mean, I guess I'm guessing it's the thing where like there's less women that are in the scene than men right now, but as it's growing, then it makes sense that weight classes would start to grow.
There are far less women than there are men, but there's also age classes. So they're they have. I think it really just depends on which race you're at. But they usually have like the pro racing doesn't start until you're 14.
Okay.
So you have to be 14 and you can race against adults. There were people there was a boy at Race for the Rail this year who's 14 years old. And I mean, he kicked butt. I think he got second or third place. And his name's Jafari. He's so fast. And he's racing against the 35-year-old men.
It's always like that. Like the kids that figure it out at a young age, there is something to be said about the sponge level of
Oh my
children.
gosh.
Where if you start kids out at something at 4 or 5 years old, like by the time they're teenagers, they're just monsters because like that's all like they don't know how to fucking not do it.
No.
This is all they've done.
And
is
their
grown up
muscle
doing it.
memory is developed with this
it's
too.
Insane.
There are there's a girl, I'm name dropping a bunch of one wheel riders now, but I hope you guys take the time to follow them on Instagram. Zoe Miller is God, I think she's 10 years old now. Maybe she's still 9. But she has been riding a one wheel for the last several years, and she is going to dominate the female one wheel racing division once she is 14 years old.
Yep.
I mean, I am like just trying to get in and have a couple good years before she starts racing because I know it's going to be over with at that point in time. She's just so incredible. And they develop this muscle memory and they're fearless.
Yeah.
They're rubber. They don't give a shit.
No.
They're going to throw themselves off of a ramp on a one wheel, and if they fall, they fall.
Yeah, they have no concept of death. They're not
None.
scared of anything.
None, right.
You're exactly right. They're made of rubber. They
Yeah.
just bounce back.
And they're celebrities. These kids go out to these one wheel events and we're like, oh my God, it's Zoe Miller, it's little Jeff. And everybody's like, yeah, go Zoe.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm famous. Like, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna race. Like, my life depends on it. And she does every single time. She kicks butt.
Yeah, like after seeing what like Shaun White did at the Olympics, it was like,
Yep.
all right, like this is, and honestly, the Olympics in general, it's so crazy watching figure skating or watching gymnastics, and all these people are like 19 years old or less.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just like, how? Why?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I couldn't
Right.
imagine.
I think that there's definitely an advantage to being in sports too when you were younger. I've seen some people who have hopped on one wheels and it was like my brother, first time he got on a one wheel and he skateboarded and whatnot. So
Balance.
having that muscle memory there is incredibly important. But he hopped on a one wheel and it was like, it took him 5 seconds to learn and he was on a one wheel.
I think balance is the most important thing to have across all sports. If you
Definitely.
if you understand your body,
Yep.
if you understand how to move weight, you can be successful. You can have a modicum of success in any sport. You might not be the top dog,
Sure.
but you're definitely above a lot of other people just from the
Absolutely.
jump because you understand how your body moves.
Absolutely.
So look, let me ask you about this. We talked about it a bit earlier with you having a tailbone injury. Kind of what are the injuries like in this sport? Is it something where like is everybody getting just fucking wrecked every race, or is it is it kind of if you know what you're doing, you're okay? How does it work?
I would say the more you know what you're doing, the more comfortable you get on your wheel and you push yourself even further. So it's I would say some of the most skilled racers tend to get hurt, and it's not because of lack of experience. It's because of the opposite. They're really comfortable on their wheel, and sometimes you just have an off day, or there's something in the middle of a race, an obstacle that you weren't prepared for. I would say on average, usually every big event that we have, there's one major injury.
Somebody gets popped.
Somebody breaks an arm. Somebody
Yeah.
breaks a leg. Somebody breaks a collarbone. Somebody, dislocates something pretty badly. There's usually one decently major injury at an event. But everybody, it's dozens of people going home with like sprained ankles and hands and stuff.
Do you have like EMTs on site, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there are people within the community that specialize in different areas, and they kind of serve on a voluntary basis for medical support. We do at some of the bigger events, they do have EMTs. There in case of emergency. But we have a lot of people in this sport who are sports therapists or registered nurses on the side. So it's really nice because anytime anybody gets hurt, there's always plenty of people ready on standby to help.
That's
because
awesome.
Injuries are common.
Yeah. And it is always good to have that there where there is somebody that knows what they're doing. Like, all right, hey, do this, don't do that. And just to have, and honestly, like when you're injured, you want somebody that is the calming voice that is
Absolutely.
like, hey, right now, here's what's happening. We just need you to chill, as opposed to people who are just like screaming and freaking out because there's blood
Sure.
and everything else.
Sure, absolutely.
Have you ever had a situation where they had to like bring in life flight or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No. I think one of the worst injuries that I was there for was gosh, I don't even know if that one's the worst one. There have been some that were pretty bad. But my friend Emily Powell, she was racing at Float Life Fest on a track called Thunderdome. And there's like these metal grates, and she fell back and like landed on her hand, and she like dislocated like I think her shoulder or elbow or something, and then broke bones while doing it. And so that was and people like got that one on video, and like watching that injury was really, really freaked me out a lot. And there was a lot of fear there. People were really worried, but none that have been like, hey, he's knocked unconscious, we think his neck's broken, and those haven't occurred yet.
Yeah.
And I hope they never do. But we've gotten pretty lucky. It's mostly like ankles and wrists and arms and collarbones.
Which tracks.
Yep.
That is like being live or watching the video of like somebody's arm getting turned into a tube of meat is always that always hurts, and it's awful to watch.
I've got a weak stomach when it comes to that kind of stuff too. It's like,
I'm not a fan.
No.
Like I've had a few things back in the day where I've been like commentating an event, and you see the replay in the monitor, and you're like, yeah, we're not showing that.
No.
And you're like, I didn't even want to see that to begin with, but here we are. I want to say shout out to the NFL this year for doing that, where the NFL has like the second week of the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Browns game where Nick Chubb got his leg completely decimated. Thank you for not showing that replay on live TV.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you for that.
Right, for sure. Nobody wants to see. I mean, some people do. Some people really like that stuff, but not me.
There's a few gorehounds out there, but not me. It's like, man,
No.
I can. Yeah, ever since they showed that kid from Louisville get his fucking leg busted during the tournament, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to see another one of these.
Yeah, I had a compound fracture in my ankle when I broke my leg or my ankle in the motorcycle accident. I broke my tibia, my fibula, and my talus, and my tibia actually snapped and went through my leg. So I had a compound fracture, but I had no idea. I mean, I had boots on at the time, and as soon as I got into the ambulance, the paramedic was like, hey, I'm going to give you some fentanyl, and everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
And then 10 minutes later, I was feeling fine. I could feel the looseness in my leg, so I knew it was broken.
Something was up.
I didn't know it was compound fracture until the next day. And they were like, yeah, you had a compound fracture.
You know what? I'd rather somebody tell me I had a compound fracture and look down and see that I had a compound fracture if I got to do my choosing here.
Yeah, right. No, I'm really thankful that I had boots on that day because I didn't have to see any of it.
Yeah. I hate seeing athletes get injured. It's not fun. It's
rough, especially really talented athletes.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's usually that way. You know, the people who are really good at what they do, they suffer an injury and you're like, gosh, no, because they are so good at what they do. And you know that they find a lot of joy in it.
Right.
So it's always unfortunate watching those people get hurt.
Right.
My husband.
The recovery time.
Oh, yeah. My husband, the day after we got married, we went to Asheville, and this was just a few months ago, and he broke his ankle and actually tore the ligament in his ankle. Severed it. While we were riding EUCs on a mountain bike trail for our honeymoon, first day of our honeymoon. It really set the vibe for the week. He broke his ankle, and we spent 7 hours in the emergency room trying to. And it's so funny, like he didn't actually break his ankle, or they told him he didn't break his ankle, but it was broken. They were like, "Oh yeah, it just looks like he maybe sprained it," and so he just kept walking on it, even though it was painful.
No.
We came back to Cincinnati, went to UC, and they were like, "Yeah, it's definitely broken in 2 places, plus your ligaments torn." So
plus you've been walking on this thing.
So fortunately,
no favor.
he healed up real quick. I give credit to Athletic Greens. If you watch Joe Rogan, you know all about him. My husband's obsessed with Athletic Greens. Been taking him for years. I think that they're what made him heal so quickly. Really.
To help him bounce back.
Absolutely. I mean, he's 38 years old. So, I mean, he probably doesn't heal as quickly as your average, teenager would. But he healed incredibly quickly considering, but he's very agile. I would say he's got a decent amount of muscle mass, very active, and takes care of himself, tries to eat pretty well. So, I think that there is some credit there too. But it was a debilitating injury in the sense that he couldn't ride one wheels, and I thought we were going to lose our minds the first couple months because he couldn't ride. And that's hard for somebody who's really dedicated to this sport. He will ride when it's cold outside. I mean, 30 degrees, he's riding his EUC.
Yeah.
With wind chill.
it's hard when you tell somebody the thing they love they can't do,
Yes.
and that's depressing.
It is so depressing.
And especially for someone, like your husband, who it's like this, he's not escaping, he's a straight edge dude. Like, he's not escaping the world through drugs or alcohol or something like that.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
his escape is doing the adventurous shit that he loves to do.
Absolutely. And I'll let him share more of that, hopefully when you have him on. But he definitely has used One Wheel, and that's kind of what I was touching on before, how One Wheel has changed so many people's lives. For Kyle, it was his drug of choice, was being able to ride One Wheels and being able to throw his passion and his life into that. And it's helped him grow so much as an individual. He's been able to travel all over the country, met people he never in a million years thought he was going to be able to meet. The ORL was recently broadcasted on the Race for the Rail. ORL's championship race was broadcasted on ESPN.
Nice.
He went on ESPN,
That's awesome.
and he's come so far in his life, and One Wheel's been a huge factor in that.
I always appreciate that about ESPN, that they will, because that's the way they started, and they will still do that because of just the amount of time they need to cover. They'll cover a lot of weird ass sports.
Yeah, they will. Absolutely.
And will definitely give like a view into stuff where it's like, oh shit, I never would have thought of this.
Yeah. Now, it was broadcasted at like 8:00 in the morning. So it was one of those things where probably not a lot of people saw it, but that was just our foot in the door.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many more opportunities. And I think ESPN has definitely got One Wheels on their radar.
Yeah. Well, if you can get in on the Ocho, then from there, it's,
Yep.
you definitely got something to work with.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about injury. Talk to me about this, and you hit upon it earlier. Where you're talking about like people see you dress up like a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Like, what is the equipment for this sport? Like, what the hell do you have to wear?
So I would say basics that you really need to have no matter what are going to be helmet and wrist guards and knee pads, really. I mean, if you get on a One Wheel and you have never been on one before, you need those three things before I'm going to let you on my One Wheel. And once you get into the racing scene, it can get a little bit more intricate. So you're definitely going to need to look at investing into some sort of body armor. So like we wear these armored like zip up like jackets, that have the full shoulder, elbow, and forearm protection, spine protection, tailbone protection, rib protection, chest protection, especially when you go into the EUC world. EUCs are, I would say confidently, far more dangerous than One Wheels are, just because they do have a lot more power. They have the ability to move at a much greater speed, and they're also, when they do malfunction, it can be kind of scary. So, my husband in particular, he is head to toe with body armor. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, we've got like motorcycle grade boots, MIPS rated helmets, full face helmets, wrist guards. He wears 2 pairs of knee pads. Like, he's got like his hard shell knee pads and his soft knee pads that he layers them up. So yeah, gear is super, super important. You are required to wear certain levels of gear when you race.
Which makes total sense because, again, the amount of speed that you're going at and the fact that, like, it's akin to a motorcycle. There is no cage around you. Like, you're just open in the elements.
Yeah.
If you hit a tree limb, you're hitting a tree limb going 40, 50 miles per hour.
Right. Absolutely. So we highly encourage people to invest in their gear once they take on this hobby. That is an important factor, especially if you want to race. I mean, anybody that hops on a One Wheel, or just like anybody that gets on a motorcycle or anything, really should have gear on, because it's not even just so much you and your skill, as outside factors could also come into play. I mean, we've had friends who have been hit by cars on their EUC. So you should really take that precaution. Anybody who's interested should definitely invest in some gear.
Well, you hit on it, and it's something I always think about is wrist guards. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about wrist guards.
No.
But man, like, my life is made through my hands. Like, I draw with my hands, and I type with my hands, and I work a mouse with my hands.
Yeah.
Like, everything in my world is revolving. Like, a good 85% of my workflow is coming out of my right hand over here. And if I don't have this motherfucker, I got a problem.
And the first thing you do when you fall is you put your hands out.
You brace, exactly. And it's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. Wrist guards are one of the most important pieces of One Wheel protection that I would encourage people to wear. I would say I feel far more confident when I ride, when I have, adequate protection on. definitely increases my confidence a lot on the trails. When I know that I've got like full body armor, I'm going to push myself a little bit further than I normally would, because if I fall, I'll probably be okay 9 times out of 10.
Are there specific brands that you lean towards or that you enjoy the product of?
I wouldn't say that there's anything particular that I enjoy using. I would say it's really based off of experience when using it if it falls apart. I mean, I've ordered gear off of Amazon before. There are a lot of different manufacturers. I think primarily I love to support people who actually ride One Wheels or EUCs that have created these different pieces of body armor. Function wrist guards are really awesome, and they were created by somebody who is very well known in our community, rides One Wheels, which is super awesome. So we always like to support small businesses within the community. If they make any mods for One Wheels, or if they make protection for One Wheels, U-form pads, I really do like their pads, butt pads, hip pads. Those are awesome. Those guys are out of Ohio, which is really awesome too.
Nice.
So we support them all day. But yeah, I think that there are so many on the market. A lot of people lean more towards like motocross armor companies or motorcycle gear companies, the mountain bike gear companies. Those are the companies that we're going to be purchasing from.
So kind of the stuff is kind of already established, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, this is on the Venn diagram. This is akin to what we do.
Correct.
Let's take from over here from something that's like a proven product that we
Yep.
know is going to have the protection that
Yep,
we need.
absolutely. G-Form is a big, very popular brand when it comes to like shorts, butt protection, hip and tailbone protection is going to be G-Form. So I hear that those are the best ones on the market. But I mean, truthfully, I've only had a couple of different pairs, and my go-to is just don't get the cheapest one on Amazon.
Okay.
So as long as it's hard protection, it's pretty good.
Is there any like collector's thing with this where it's like, hey, there's only like 200 of these helmets made, or like
No.
anything? Okay, so
Not that I know of, I would say. I don't
Okay.
really think that that's like a niche or anything like that. Now that does apply to like One Wheels themselves, because there have been several generations of One Wheels. So it's
Oh.
not just like One Wheel was created and that's what was out there on the market. It will, and you may have heard of like the recent recall.
Oh,
There was a recall on One Wheels. and-
tell the listener about the recall.
Yeah, so there was a One Wheel issued by, or a recall issued by Future Motion, because there were issues where there were a few deaths that
Oh
were,
shit.
yeah.
Okay.
But the reason that these deaths took place were because of not having adequate protection.
Wear a helmet, people.
Wear a helmet. That's what it comes down to. And so, Future Motion had no choice but to like try to protect this product by saying, hey, there's a recall on them. You guys need to be, upgrading your software to meet these new safety measures that we've, put into place, so that they've established with our software. So like with the newest release, there was something called haptic buzz that was initiated. And basically once you start hitting pushback on a One Wheel, and pushback is where you are reaching your top speed and you'll kind of feel the nose of the One Wheel actually
Start to come up.
lift up, and it's like, hey, you're going too fast. And now there's something called haptic buzz that happens when you hit pushback as well, where it actually is buzzing and it's making noise, it's vibrating, so that you're like, you can't avoid it, as much. It's more apparent that you are hitting pushback at that point in time. So they initiated that with their newest like safety update with the recall. And I know it caused a lot of controversy. There were a lot of people who were pretty upset about it. But back to the fact that there are a lot of different generations of One Wheel. It started out with the XR, and then that moved on to the GT came out a couple years ago, and that was huge because for a while XRs were really the only thing that were on the market. GTs came out and they were faster, they were more powerful, they had more torque, more capability, and then just as of like less than a month ago, the GTS dropped. So it's been 2 years
Okay.
since we've had a release of a one wheel, and the GTS just dropped, which was I think Future Motion's way of trying to be competitive with the Vesk market that exists today, where their fully customizable one wheels exist. They came out with the GTS, which is more powerful. It has it actually has less range, but it has more torque, and just it can go faster. So it's got
Okay.
more power, just less range.
So you're trading in speed and torque versus
Range.
time range. That you could use
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, EUC just blows them out of the water because an EUC still has more power and still has more range. But it's a different ride. Like
Yeah.
they are two completely different animals, really.
Yeah, looking at these two things from the outside edge, like I definitely get more of like a longboard vibe from like the one wheel where it seems
Yeah.
a lot more chill, whereas the ECU seems a lot or EUC seems
Yeah.
a lot more akin to like a motorcycle.
Sure.
Where it's like you're traveling distance, you're going, and maybe it's just in the way of the body positioning we were talking
Sure,
about earlier.
sure.
Because again, the one wheel is more akin to a skateboard or a snowboard setup.
Absolutely. And I think that when it comes to EUCs, because you have so much more power, people are more competitive with EUCs. There are a lot, from my point of view, there are a lot more people who ride one wheels casually than there are who just ride like EUCs, every once in a while. Well, to the point that they're very expensive. Like usually people who invest in these are dedicated to them because they're not cheap. So, and then once you've got, equipment accounted for and mods accounted for, you're several $1,000s investing in these. So people are definitely going to ride as often as they possibly can.
Which is also an interesting thing of like dealing with hobbies and collections is sometimes hobbies become their own collection because you have to collect all these extra pieces
Yep.
to make the hobby work.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, oh, you must have this.
Yes.
Okay, so outside of the basics of like, hey, you got your one wheel or you got your EUC and you got your armor and stuff. Is there just anything that you like to have as just kind of a fashion statement, or is it's not a need to have, but it's a nice to have?
With one wheel,
Yeah.
a nice helmet is always a statement piece. I think a lot of people in this community, they can be pointed out by their helmet. Like I know a few pro racers that when they're racing, I know which one they are because of their helmet. So picking a good helmet, just know that whatever you choose, people are going to associate you with that. There's a lot of merchandise in this community. So there are so many t-shirts. I can't even tell you. I have more one wheel themed t-shirts than any other type of t-shirt that I own, because there's so much material out there. I have so many different brands and companies that make these custom one wheel shirts and whatnot. So jerseys are also a big thing. Whatever circuit you ride for. So there are different circuits all over the country, and everybody kind of has their group, and it's either associated with your area code or the city you live in. And for the Ohio, we have the Ohio Underground Circuit, and we also have the Float Tucky Trail Derby. And my husband and I are part of both of those.
So you're repping both?
Yeah. And so, you have jerseys that have like your name on the back, and they're customizable, and they're the colors of whatever circuit you're a
cool.
part of. So
What's your colors?
well, it changes every year for at least Float Tucky Trail Derby, which the Ohio Underground Circuit was just kind of founded this year because we didn't have a lot of riders in Ohio. But this year, our friend Dylan Ferris founded the One Wheel Ohio Underground, which was awesome. And I think the colors were like blue and purple for the One Wheel Underground, and then for Float Tucky Trail Derby, it's whoever wins their championship race picks the colors for that year's jersey. So you get the privilege of doing that. This past year was green and blue. My husband won first place last year in the Float Tucky Trail Derby, and so he got to pick the colors. This year, our good friend Nico Ailman, I don't know how to say his last name, but he is one of the most I don't know what the most impactful humans in this niche of people, because he's been such a huge resource when it comes to the development of One Wheels. He's like the One Wheel brain.
Okay.
That's what we call Nico. He's the One Wheel brain. And he's from Cincinnati or Ohio, and he has grown so much in the sport. He's so fast. He races. He's really talented when it comes to racing, but he also is very smart when it comes to the future of One Wheel
Okay.
and developing One Wheel. And so he's earned his name in this sport, I should say, for that. But he won this year at the Flotucky Trail Derby.
Nice.
So he picked the colors, and I want to say they're like red and something this year. I could be wrong though. I don't think the jerseys have dropped yet. So for this upcoming year. So, but they're fun. Every circuit has their own. So you kind of know. The cool part is when we all travel to different events throughout the country, we all bring our jerseys so that when we're together, we can get like group photos with all of us in our jerseys, which is really fun.
That's very cool. That's a cool way to put it all together. Well, look, as we wind down here, and this is one of those rabbit holes where, like, I'm not even sure if I'm asking all the questions. Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about? Was there anything that we didn't hit upon that we should dive into?
Oh God, no. One Wheel is such it. There is definitely a rabbit hole to One Wheel. And I think I'm going to leave a lot of the technical aspects of it to my husband because he is just so much more in tune with it. I can just say with confidence that, and I don't mean this lightly, One Wheel has changed my life. I mean, just from reaching a new level of confidence with the physical capabilities of my body, and also the people that I've been able to meet and the feeling of belonging that I spoke about earlier and never having experienced that before in my life, it's changed my life. And I feel like there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people who ride One Wheels that would say the same thing, because this community is so amazing. So and being part of the Drift Sisters, we have an annual retreat every year.
Oh, cool.
And
Same spot or different spot?
different spot every year.
Ooh, and then question for this: is it always a chill spot? Like, hey, let's get a cabin in Gatlinburg, or is it a thing where it's like, let's go to Vegas? Like, how does this work? Or,
So we ride One Wheels. These girls, I mean,
okay.
it's girls only.
okay,
So
we got to have a combination of we're chilling, but at the same
we're
time
chilling and we're riding. Yeah. So, and it is, gosh, I can't even begin to explain how impactful my first One Wheel retreat was with the Drift Sisters. I went to Mount Shasta, California, and my husband and I we weren't married yet. We took a 2-week-long trek from Ohio. We drove all the way to California, stopped in a bunch of states to ride One Wheels.
Nice.
And then we landed in Mount Shasta, where he dropped me off for this retreat. And I was with 30 girls, most of which I think besides one or two of them I had never met before.
Would you identify as a woman who likes hanging out with girls, or are you normally not a girly girl?
Personally, I'm not.
How does it vibe?
So personally, I'm not much of a girly girl in the sense of like from cosmetic aspects,
Okay.
like makeup and stuff like that. Like I'm not so much with that and fashion and things like that. I suck at those things. But when it comes to just being around people and associating with other women, I love women.
Okay.
I love men. I love women. I love them all. But I particularly love being around women who uplift each other, positive women, positive people in general, but definitely positive women. There's not many girls that I meet that I don't try to befriend. You know, I'm definitely a girl's girl, you know, so if I meet somebody and they're sitting by themselves, I'm going to go right up to them and I'm going to sit next to them and say, hey, what's your name? You know, what are you into? These girls were the epitome of that. I mean, I got there with my suitcase, like my husband dropped me off, and I swear it felt like summer camp. It was like he dropped me off. I had my backpack, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anybody here. I want to go home already. And within 10 minutes, that changed. I had girls walking up to me. Oh, hi, you must be Hannah. I follow you on Instagram. You're from Cincinnati, right? And immediately, I found my home.
Nice.
Like I truly found my home. And these girls, I mean, we text each other and call each other and check in with each other all year long until we see each other again. And we see a lot of these Drift Sisters travel to other events too. So we get to see each other like once every 3 months, and it's like a reunion all over again.
Exactly.
But I went to this retreat and there was this moment that really, really stood out to me. And I think that this is a moment where I had a lot of gratitude for One Wheel. All of us girls were sitting like in this communal like community area at this lodge in Mount Shasta, and it was getting dark and you could see all the stars, and we were all playing with like light toys, listening to music. And I looked around me and I thought, all of these people are here because of One Wheel. And we're all so happy to be in each other's presence and full of love and encouragement. How incredible is that? And how incredibly rare is that in today's society, to have just a group of people who are unapologetically themselves. They don't have to pretend to be somebody else. And I think as a woman, society has made it very difficult for us to not be naturally competitive with each other. I mean, we open up our phones and we are subjected to unrealistic standards of beauty, of fashion, of lifestyles that we are constantly trying to keep up with. And there was not a single person at this retreat that made anybody feel like they had to amount to anything other than being what they were, which was so beautiful. I mean, just to be there and to think, I am being 100% authentically me right now, and everybody is so happy that I am. So that was awesome. That stood out to me a lot. And it sucked me right into it. Shortly after, I was the Ohio ambassador for the Drift Sisters. And then this year we had our retreat in Bend, Oregon, which is beautiful. If you're ever thinking about going to Oregon, definitely hit Bend.
Bend is one of the few places in Oregon I haven't been yet, but I want to go to Bend because it seems like a very cool spot.
It is a really fun town. I mean, it's like it's kind of like a hipster town. A lot of breweries, coffee shops, different fun things to do, kind of touristy, but still small enough that I think you can go there and not be like, it definitely be a tourist town. You know, you wouldn't know it. It is, but you wouldn't know it. Still, it got that small town feel. And I mean, we live, and being in Ohio, we have a lot of forest. What is this? A deciduous? What are we considered? Do you know?
Yeah, let's go with that big word.
Yeah. Okay. So like, there's different climates, and the climate in Bend is similar to here, except the trees are different.
They're like evergreens,
They're
right?
evergreens,
They're more
and
the
they're-
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
Where
and
it's just that big, dense, like foliage of like it never leaves. It's just always there.
exactly, very rocky, very dry comparatively, and it's just the climate is gorgeous out there. I mean, it was beautiful. Some of the sites that I got to see in Bend, Oregon, you would never think you would, but they're gorgeous. And to ride One Wheels, one of the other places that I've been that were just, it was one of those moments that you just saved in your brain as a clip whenever you're having a bad day, to just like replay this in your brain of what it was like to be there in that moment. And it was riding through Tahoe. Riding through Tahoe and those trees and being able to see like the lake and the smooth winding trails. It was just so surreal. It was like it came out of a movie. And it's really cool because you can kind of get like POVs of One Wheel riding if you just look it up on YouTube. There's so much content out there.
With GoPros.
Oh my gosh, yes. And you feel like you're riding it. I mean, I've had a lot of people who have watched some videos that I've taken or my husband have taken and went, yeah, I think I want to buy one of those.
So I think as you were talking about this, you were hitting upon the idea of the experience of like experiencing something new with new people.
Yeah.
It's something that all people should try and do. And I know that it's scary to do. It's scary to meet new people.
Yeah.
Like you expressed, it is.
Yeah.
But if you try, again, if you have that thing that you're into and they're into, at least you got a touchstone.
Yeah.
Like that makes it so much better. And also the idea of just like traveling and seeing stuff. That's one of the things I love about living in this country. We live in a gigantic landmass.
Yes.
And it's way different depending on where you are.
Absolutely.
Like New York City is not Florida, is not South Dakota, is not the Pacific Northwest,
Absolutely.
is not California, like
Right.
or Las Vegas, like all or New Orleans. Like these are
Yeah, the
all-
list goes on.
Yeah, Chicago. Everything has its own flavor and
Absolutely.
theme, and it's so cool to get to like just go throughout the United States and visit places and just
That's been
be
a
like-
huge benefit. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think I would have traveled half as much as I have in the last few years if it weren't for One Wheel. I mean, before One Wheel, I think I had been to like 5 states maybe.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm at like 20.
Yeah, and
because of One Wheel.
yeah, and that was me in roller derby. It was just like, oh, we got booked to play here, and I got to go. Okay, well, let's go work. And you just end up in these spots. You never,
Yes.
I never thought I was going to end up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've been there multiple times now.
Yeah,
It's just like, you know what, Kalamazoo, pretty fucking cool town.
It is, right? Bend, Oregon. That's how I felt about Bend. I went, wow, this place is actually pretty neat.
Yeah, I did not have this pegged as a place I was going to end up in life, but here
absolutely.
we are.
Or Mount Shasta, California. I mean, the mountain at Mount Shasta was a volcano. Or I think is still a volcano. It's just inactive. And so being able to see that in Northern California and experience that aspect of California, because California, one, is such a huge state.
It's gigantic.
So many different, just geographical differences between Southern California.
NorCal and SoCal and NorCal is
they're so different, night and day.
Yeah. NorCal is like just mountains and just crazy weed
evergreens
country. Yeah.
and what you would imagine Twilight.
Yeah.
The landscape of Twilight
yes.
is Northern California.
And then SoCal is like beaches and
it's
gigantic
Mexico.
City. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah,
exactly.
right there. So yeah, it's just. Yeah, America's also weird in the fact the way we set up the states, whereas like the original 13 colonies are like super small, and then the further we get west, we're just like
they're huge.
I don't know, fuck it, like it's all this thing.
It's after the Louisiana Purchase, everything was
I'm just like okay, whatever.
Who cares how
just,
big it is?
Yeah, just stake it off, and it's 100 miles wide.
It is funny how like the East Coast now that you make that point, I'm thinking a little bit more about it and how the states just progressively get bigger.
Yeah.
As they go over to the West Coast.
100%.
That is crazy.
Yeah, imagine like the 13 colonies. Like, can you fit the entire 13 colonies into Texas? I don't know.
Probably.
But I would guess
probably.
I don't.
Well, and thinking about America too, and like Europe, like I've always thought about how you could go to so many major cities in Europe in the same distance that one would travel from Ohio to Florida.
100%. Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is also crazy. Yes, to think about that, where it's just like, oh yeah, like to jump from like Germany to like London is not as much as like going from New York to San
LA.
Francisco. Yeah, it's just a way shorter distance.
Absolutely.
But they're two major countries and major international cities, and
the more that I've traveled in the United States and going those long distances, because like I said, I have driven from Ohio to Northern California before. I'm like, wow, it must not be that bad to just. I go to Europe and I could probably hit all major cities within like a couple of weeks period, and it wouldn't be as bad as driving to California, because that sucked. It was the worst. I mean, it was fun, but spending that long in a car, even with stops, is excruciating.
Well, look, I feel like this is a perfect transition. Let's talk about the future.
Yeah.
Goals? Like, are you trying to fuck with international shit? Like,
yeah.
What are you doing in the future?
Are we talking about One Wheel? Like when it comes to that, or just in general?
Let's go.
I'll touch on a few.
Yeah.
So, I want to travel the world for sure. No doubt about that.
Okay.
That's my long-term plans. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I took the leap that I did with the entrepreneurial path that I'm on now, is just wanting that freedom and security that allows me to go do those things, which I think your standard 9 to 5 doesn't allow for. And, even though the guys that are on my team, they work, a 9 to 5, I encourage them to take trips and to go on vacation and to go, wherever their heart desires, to be able to explore, because travel's, it's one of the best ways to grow as an individual.
100%.
Subjecting yourself to different cultures and
Meeting
different
people
and
shit,
seeing how they live, trying new foods, listening to different types of music, seeing how other people live to give you perspective. It's a beautiful thing. When it comes to One Wheel, I'm really excited for this season because I think between me and my bestie Jamie, we and our like training together, and my husband, because he also trains me. He chases me down trails, and he is a huge help and has been a huge factor in my growth. I want to get out and I want to race this year harder than I ever have. The last year I was just dipping my toes in the water trying to get comfortable with what it was like. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I had a lot more restrictions because of work. But this year I'm really eager to dive into it and to see just how capable I am.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And what's really cool, you mentioned international, is that there is an event called Float the Highlands, I believe. And it's in Europe. And they had their very first like one wheel race there one wheel like championship race in Europe this past year. So like this is a worldwide thing. This is only going to get bigger. One
Yes,
wheels,
100%.
EUCs, they are only going to grow in popularity. And I love that I was able to get in on this while it was still small enough that I got to experience that small feel. And it's still pretty small. But it is only going to continue to grow for sure.
Yeah, you're definitely at the right place in the right time, especially with your age where you're like, 25 right now?
Yep.
And so it's like, like think of the growth this thing is going to have in 15 years and you're still not going to be as old as me.
Yeah,
You know?
right. Absolutely.
So it's like, that's pretty cool that like you're going to be able to see this thing grow and what it's going to do internationally and, be a part of its evolution.
No, it has been an incredible experience that I'm so fortunate that I got to be a part of at this time in the universe, at this wrinkle and how long this world has existed and how long it will exist, to be able to be part of it where One Wheels exist. I feel pretty lucky because they're awesome. They're so much fun. They brought so much joy to so many people's lives. And there's no doubt that more people are going to find it and they're going to get hooked just like I did.
I don't think there's a better way to end it than that. I think
Yeah.
that's a perfect way to put a bow on it.
Absolutely.
Well, look, Hannah, where can the people find you out online if they want to check you out and what you're doing?
Yeah, Wheel Float Queen on Instagram. And then I'm also going to drop my husband because he's got really fun content to follow. His name is Float Jesus. You won't be able to miss him because he looks just like Jesus. But yeah, Wheel Float Queen. We've got videos and photos and all kinds of stuff there. To name drop some of my favorite riders too, if you want to watch some really badass people racing. As far as females are concerned, Jamie Bryant, she is awesome and she's on Instagram. Diesel Cecil, which I already mentioned. Mandy McFly Thompson is also one of the best of all time. Allie Beebs, she's a total badass. Kay Love, these are all women that race that are just truly incredible in this sport. And then as far as the guys are concerned, obviously my husband's the best. I gotta say that. But
shout out Flo
there's
Jesus.
also shout out to Flo Jesus. There are also, hundreds and hundreds of very talented people as far as males are concerned, because there's a lot more. But Bodie Harrison and Tyler James and Nico Ailman, who is truly incredible. God, the list goes on. There's so many. Bart Miller, he's one of the OGs in this industry, so he's got a lot of really awesome content to share. So all over, definitely I encourage anybody who's listening to just go to YouTube, go to Instagram, and just type the word One Wheel. You will not be disappointed with what you see. Entertainment for hours.
And if people want to come and have you come into their home and fix shit up and make things better?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Company is Rep General Contracting. So we are based out of Butler County, but we do work all over the Cincinnati area. So if you're looking for somebody who is reliable, experienced, and professional, we can make your vision a reality.
Nice. Listener, you can find me at Neil to No One on Instagram. Linktree is from there. What You Into comes out weekly. If you got a friend that's into racing, if they're into one wheels, extreme sports, EUCs, anything like that, please share the episode with them. That's the way the show grows. And by the way, every episode is evergreen, so you can jump in wherever you want, however you want. We got a little something for everybody at this point. It's all evergreen. Hannah, thank you so much for hanging out. I had
You're
such a
so
blast.
welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me, Anthony.
This is so cool. All right, listener, peace.
See ya.